a faster 5T,
we've got a 65 mile an hour fifth scale truck,
is a more exhilarating 5T. In phase 1, 2 straightforward upgrades helped us add 17% more top speed over the stock truck. We went from a 47 mile per hour baseline to 53 with a 20-tooth pinion, and then to 55 after installing the Cobra 5 HV. If you've not watched phase 1, check it out here. Now we're installing the motor that will test the real limits of this truck. This is the massive Castle 2535, and I chose the 680 kV motor. The higher kV should deliver an immediate gain, and after that we'll gear it up and see how far into the 60s this truck can go. To isolate the motor's impact, we're starting with the same 17-tooth pinion and 67-tooth spur used for our original 47 mile per hour baseline. Then we'll reinstall the 20-tooth pinion, keep the 67-tooth spur, and measure what the complete phase 2 combination can do. And you definitely won't want to miss phase 3. That's where we move to a smaller spur and much more aggressive gearing. At that point, things will really get diabolical. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that.
All right, let's kick things off by getting that motor swapped over. Here's a comparison of the 2535 versus a lineup of some other motors I've got lying around. One for a Losi Micro T, another for Mini Creighton, a Castle upgrade for an Arma 6S. This thing is just enormous.
definitely fighting that red Loctite right now. And we got it. Our red Loctite sure was doing its job there. Holy cow. Just a little bit of a status update on these guys. You can see that the screw heads are leaving impressions when we tighten them down a lot in this. You can also tell that it hasn't moved. So actually pretty encouraging to see that. Let's check the one that goes in on the bottom. Yeah, same story here. You can see where the screw head imprinted itself down in here, and there's no signs that it was slipping around. So again, good job. So much better than needing lots of different bits for different size pinions and spurs.
I mentioned in phase 1 that I was a big fan of the top level RC larger hex hardware for the mounting plate, and these screws are holding up really well. Even after fighting against a lot of red Loctite, there's no concern about stripping them. Our 22-tooth pinion still in pretty good shape, but there was some rubbing against the motor mount because it's loose. That's a good catch before the next round of speed runs. In hindsight, I vaguely remember not tightening the grub screw all the way, and I should have done that. I'm going to be elated if this heatsink and fan setup transfers to the new motor. It looks promising, and based on the listed dimensions, it should be fine. Retaining active cooling will help us judge whether the 680 kV motor can do more than a couple of short pulls.
There we can see our first size comparison. I think this is going to get a lot more dramatic when we get the motor mount off. Guys, this is where we're headed in terms of the 30-tooth pinion. Super excited to see what that looks like on this truck. First one starts out fairly easily. I actually don't feel like they're in there that tight.
All right, let's talk about expectations for what we should see from this motor. The stock motor is 560 kV. The Castle 2535 is available in 2 kV options, 520 kV and 680 kV. And because we want to really push speed and the upper limits of this truck, I chose the 680 kV option. If temperatures get too out of control, we can always step down to the 520 kV option, but on paper, moving from 560 to 680 kV represents a theoretical speed increase of 21.4%, assuming voltage, gearing, tire size, and drivetrain load remain comparable. If you're contemplating this swap, know that the Castle motor wires are noticeably shorter than the stock wires. With the ESC in its factory location, the leads simply will not reach.
One thing worth paying attention to on the motor mount, we know top goes up because there's only the one bolt securing it on the top side of the motor, and the underside of the chassis has 2. So pay attention to that, that'll help you out.
There was some debate after phase 1 about adding a heatsink to a finned motor. Kilowatt RC reported lower temperatures with this setup, so I'm transferring it to the Castle motor and letting the data decide. It took a little persuasion, but it does finally seat securely and the fans will stay installed for both tests, though the stock screw holding the heatsink on did not fit.
The listed dimensions would lead you to believe that this can is slightly narrower than the stock one, but it's definitely not. All right, let's get that new motor mounted up. Oh man, I can feel the power oozing out of this thing already. Whoo, doggy. Little loose there still. You guys all probably noticed the issue before I did. I did not put this on. So we'll get the bottom set and then we'll turn back around and get that done. And while guys, you do want to get these really tight, it's possible to over tighten things. So be mindful of that. Don't just crank as much as you possibly can, especially on smaller scale vehicles. You can get away with over tightening a little bit on some of these, but there comes a point where, regardless of how good your tools are, you're gonna have problems on smaller scales. That's gonna about do it, I think.
After test fitting the motor with the ESC in the stock location, there's no clean path for the shorter leads. I'm drilling the chassis so the stock ESC mount can move to the front. That keeps the factory mounting tray while putting the ESC close enough to the new motor for a secure connection. I did not want to have to solder those wires. Before we head out, the heatsink is secure, both fans are working, the motor and ESC leads have proper clearance, the gear mesh is set, and the pinion hardware is tight. Now it's time to get back on location and test this new motor. For this first test, we're on the 17-tooth pinion and 67-tooth spur, the same gearing as the original 47 mile/hour baseline. We're also using the same GPS measurement method. Real-world conditions can vary, but keeping the gearing and measurement method consistent gives us a useful comparison.
We are zeroed. Fans powered on. We've got some life. Definitely need to get the BEC turned up. I think we are a little lower there. Okay, let's get the body on. All right about what we expected. We are at 56 miles an hour. Do a couple more runs here. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. Let's see what we got. Again, right about what we expected. 57 miles an hour. 3, 2, 1, go. Full throttle. We're in it, we're in it, we're in it, we're in it. Okay, that's a good pull right there. I'm feeling like whatever we got off of that one is pretty much what we're at. There we are, right at 57. Okay, so did basically exactly what we thought it would. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. Little more spice, that one. We got 58. I'll make for some fun POV.
With the same 17-tooth gearing, the motor alone took us from 47 to 58 miles per hour. The KV math predicted a 21.4% increase. The measured gain was actually 23.4%. That's remarkably close to the theoretical projection, but it is on the plus side, which is a little surprising, and I'm guessing that's due to the efficiencies of these electronics compared to the stock ones. Obviously, other variables could be coming into play.
I want you guys to be able to appreciate how this thing is moving now, so let's get it up here and send it horizontally. I mean, this thing feels like a 10th scale truck.
The speed polls show clearly in the logger, and both the motor and ESC peaked at 117 degrees. That's an excellent first result. Not only did we get more speed, but there's still tons of thermal headroom in this session. Now, it's time to gear up. We moved from the 17-tooth pinion to the same 20-tooth pinion we used in Phase 1 while keeping the stock 67-tooth spur. The Castle 2535, Cobra 5 HV batteries, and the rest of the Phase 2 setup remain unchanged, so this next step shows what the taller pinion adds on top of the motor upgrade.
All right, guys, we are back on the scene with the 5T. She is looking massive today and ready to rip. Man, I love this truck, and I love making it go faster. So here we go. Let's get to it. GPS is zeroed. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yep, that's a bit different. I mean, the front end of this thing is about popping up right now. But we are well into the 60s now, guys. 3, 2, 1, go. Little easier into the throttle. Oh boy. Whew, man. She is ripping. All right, that's right about. Oh, baby. Guys, we've got a 65 mile an hour fifth scale truck. Let's go again. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. It is way down there, guys. We're giving it a long run up. Guys, the front tires are nearly off the ground on that pole. That is wild. Actually, we're not going to go the other direction. We're going to keep going the same way, just because I don't want to freak this guy out that's down there too terribly much. All right, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. We are full throttle. We were on full for a second there, guys. 65 again. Okay, we're locked in there. 65 looks like our top speed.
With the 20-tooth pinion and a logged session in about 10 minutes, the motor peaked around 131 degrees and the ESC around 129. Those temperatures leave considerable thermal headroom again and suggest this setup is doing more than surviving brief speed pulls. Phase 2 took this truck from 47 mile per hour stock baseline to 65 miles per hour, a gain of 18 miles per hour or 38.3%. The motor test was by far the most revealing part. With the same 17-tooth gearing, the Castle 2535 moved the truck from 47 to 58, a measured gain of 23.4%, almost exactly in line with the 21.4% increase predicted by our math. Then the 20-tooth pinion added another 7 miles per hour, taking us from 58 to 65. That is a further 12.1% increase over the 17-tooth Phase 2 result, and the motor and ESC still stayed near 130 degrees in the longer log session. So Phase 2 delivered exactly what we wanted, a major speed increase, a result that tracks closely with the math, and no immediate temperature warning. Phase 3, again, is where we're going to get diabolical. We're moving to a smaller spur, significantly more aggressive gearing, and an entirely different level of risk. Subscribe if you want to see just how far this 5T can go. And oh, I've even got a couple of surprises for this truck after that.